no group in America has been helped more by government than American Indians. And yet no group has done worse. Indians have the highest poverty rate and lowest life expectancy of any group in America. That's what I said in my Freeloaders show, that Indians are poor because of government help. In response, some viewers called me a racist, an idiot, a bigot, and a bunch of other things I can't even say on TV. Some complaints came from Indians, like Jeffrey, who wrote, "Hey, Zippy, grow up. I take great offense on your remarks about what you said about my ancestors. You state Native Americans have received more help from government than any other group. Are you serious?" Well, yeah, I am serious, and they have. Terry Anderson of PERC, the Property and Environmental Research Center, has been researching that, and it is true, right?
Yes, John. The amount of money that flows into the reservations is phenomenal. If you take health care alone, average spending per capita in the U.S. is a little over $2,000. Average spending on American Indians is $7,000, comparable to Japan. And that's a lot of money. They still don't get good health care, but a lot is spent.
All right, and health care is just part of it. And then a related criticism, Chief Allen of the Coeur d'Alene tribe of Idaho made the point that the help that the tribes receive isn't some gratuitous benefit. It's a requirement under terms of treaties. But I know that. It's part of the treaty. That doesn't make it right, though, and it makes Indians dependent and therefore poor.
There is no question that there's some obligation of the U.S. to pay back.
No question, right.
But at the same time, in doing so, we've gotten the incentives impossibly messed up. And there are no data I know of that don't show that Indians who are on their own, who have ability to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, who have control of their resources, do better than those who don't. And the trusteeship by the federal government is one of the most burdensome stones that the Indians carry.
Okay, so Elizabeth Homer was in my special. She was once the Interior Department's director of American Indian Trust. And you're mad about what I said. You say I'm ignorant.
Yeah, I did say that. I did say that you were ignorant. And I think that...
How?
Because you don't know what you're talking about when it comes to this subject matter.
Educate me.
And that's one of the things that I was also torqued about, is that the interview was almost an hour, and there were about 5 seconds. And during the interview, we mostly talked about why the conditions are like they are. And I just want to say it's not for the reasons that you suggest. It's because of the lack of infrastructure in Indian country. Roads, bridges, internet services, all of the technology that's not available in our communities is impeding economic development. And I think that that is the most important factor in why so many tribal, and not all, but so many tribal communities are behind when it comes to socio and economic conditions.
Terry Anderson, if they don't have infrastructure.
You can drive through the big western reservations, such as the Crow Reservation in Montana, the Blackfeet Reservation. You can look at Google Maps, and you will see these parcels of land in the center of these reservations, side by side, parcels that are fee simple,
we have some of these
privately
Google
owned.
Maps. Let's put them up here. That we have the Flathead Reservation.
And when you look at those maps, the parts that are green, that are productive, are the parts that are held in private hands, often by Indians, maybe not as much as they should be.
This is the Blackfeet, which
is
not held in private hands.
No, and if you look at those, they're the same kind of land, they have the same infrastructure available, and yet side by side, the trust lands are far less productive, between 80 and 90% less productive when you control for everything else.
Elizabeth, your trusts keep them poor by inviting them to freeload.
The trust responsibility is a solemn obligation on the part of the United States. There are responsibilities, there are things that government does, but the trust responsibility, in fact, does not always just benefit Indians. Most of the energy production on reservations is being managed, and revenues and royalties are being collected by the Department of the Interior. And one of the things that I wanted to be sure that your audience understands is that a lot of the money that transfers through the United States to tribal governments is the Indians' own money.
So
for the
why not let them
royalties
keep it? Why not get rid of your trusts and your government management?
Well, they do keep it. It is collected by the United States, and it is redistributed back to the tribal owners.
The average wealth of a Crow tribal member, measured by their coal deposits, is well over $3 million. The average return on coal to the tribal member in the Crow tribe is 0.001%. Any financial person who manages a portfolio worth $3 million and returns 0.001% should be fired.
So let's fire your successor and all the people running these trusts, and let's treat Indians like regular Americans.
Why don't you ask Indians how to be treated? Why is it up to you, Mr. Stossel, to decide, or you, Mr. Anderson? How is this your issue? How is this your level of expertise? I mean, what do you know about this, and where do you come from? I mean, what is your expertise in this area?
I've studied. I have lived on a reservation.
Okay, I've lived on a reservation.
I'm a Native American. I was born in the United States,
You're
just
Native
as you
American.
were.
Which tribe?
But I'm a Native American. I was born in the United States, I said. But that aside,
But let's not just...
You're an economist?
Let's talk about that language for a second, because for a long time I was told you can't use the word Indian. It's not politically correct. You have to use Native American. And Indians said, I'm not an American. Don't call me a Native American. And I'm told Indian is the most popular term. So that's confusing. But you're saying you're an American economist.
Well, I like
Are you
Canadians
an
use. Yeah, I am. Canadians use First Nations, which is a good term, and it comes back to this question of why are they treated this way? Domestic dependent nations were the words. Wards of the state were the words that came out of the U.S. Supreme Court. And then in the legislation, we say you don't get the land until you're deemed competent. Those words still exist. Think of a group that we say that to. To say you're a ward of the state is like saying you're not mentally capable, you're a minor, or some other group like that.
That is not the modern legal parlance, by the way.
But it is how they're treated.
It is not the modern legal parlance. And I think that these are issues of decision by tribal governments. If self-determination and self-governance mean anything, it's that the Indians drive the relationship, and they drive the relationship with the United States.
Well, it's not working well for the Indians, I would argue. Thank you, Elizabeth Homer and Terry Anderson. Coming up, Ann Coulter is a critic with a sharp tongue. Her take on freeloaders next.